Thanks for joining me on the Packaging Unboxed podcast. Today, we're talking to Sherry Horowitz. We're going to talk about Midjourney, artificial intelligence, the different types of prompts that she uses, how she even gets started with a prompt, and how she's making a living with Midjourney as her co-pilot. We're talking about how you can do this as well, in terms of like how to work with agencies, how to work with designers, how to actually implement this in a functioning workflow. So she goes into a lot of that stuff, which is really great. But we also get into just the whole concept of just ethics and what to do with it. She's pretty funny. She has a lot of cool things to say. I think you're going to love her. Do me a favor. This doesn't cost you anything to watch or listen to. So just hop over to YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, then you're here already. Click, subscribe, do me that favor. It's all I ask for you. It's all it's going to cost you. In the meantime, these are our sponsors. We're working with idpdirect.com, factory direct packaging manufacturer. So if you are looking for packaging, no reason to go find a middleman that's going to charge you a premium for them to go find a factory. Just go to idpdirect.com. They are the factory, the manufacturer for everybody. Check them out. Super cool. And specwrite.com. If you've got a ton of SKUs that you've got to manage, specwrite.com does this for you. And as we move into like new EPR laws that you're going to have to provide a ton of information on your packaging, guess what? SpecWrite has you. If you're using SpecWrite, they've got all that information, all that documentation that you can actually use for EPR. If you're not in packaging, you have no idea what EPR means, don't sweat it. If you know what it is, you know you need it. You need specwrite.com. All right, let's get to the show. I'm super excited to just have this conversation with you. We're talking to Sherry Horowitz today. And Sherry, I've seen your stuff on LinkedIn and just throughout social media, just all the stuff that you're creating. And it's so exciting to see somebody as excited as I am about this new tech. So yes. Can you just give us a quick rundown on who you are and what you're doing?
AI is dramatically changing things. So I'm here today because I adopted as much tech as I could with an eye to the future, and AI has really been radical. So I'm really happy and excited to talk about it. And I've been down the rabbit hole since the day it opened and since they put it out to the public with Midjourney.
Yeah, I've seen people testing out all the different variations of image generating AI, and I think hands down, Midjourney has won this for now.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Well, you kind of also, you get what you pay for. They have a team of people constantly working on the software. So.
Yeah, no, it makes it great. And then, so you didn't spend time in the agency world, but now like this AI has kind of given you just the ability to
oh my goodness,
generate more faster. Like how are you using it?
Oh my goodness. It is giving me the ability to literally do 360 degrees for my clients, where I would need a photographer or, you still need professionals. I'm not saying that you don't, but right. As somebody who's driving the vision and the ideas as a brand identity designer, you need a lot of idea iterations and prototyping. And it's just given me the ability to visualize so many ideas that I have in my head that would take me weeks to produce, or some of them are not even possible to produce. Yeah. It's been an absolute boon for me.
All right. So you've been able to have an idea, test it out, see if you even like it, if it's in the right direction.
Yes.
Okay. So how are you?
I'll tell you about a job I just did recently. That was like one of my dream jobs. I just did a job for a gentleman named Isaac Rodansky. He runs a company called Adventure Media in Long Island, New York. I've been following him for about 2 years now. His company is growing by leaps and bounds. He's an extremely intelligent digital performance marketer. But what I did was I helped him with a client that the name of the client is Grown Brilliance. They are growing by leaps and bounds, and they do lab grown diamonds.
Okay.
So I was able to do an insane amount of brand discovery ideation for him. The fact that a digital marketing agency is now dabbling in branding is another whole discussion. But they are in the position to do that because they end up overlapping with branders because they have to create a message and a visual, and they end up taking a lot of that over at the beginning or midway or however, wherever they are in the process. So that was really cool. Isaac is actually really interesting because he's an industrial psychologist and he started out as an artist in his early years. So he's able to really walk the line between design and the digital performance strategy, which is really cool. So it was really fun to work with him. And yeah, it gave me the ability to just produce so much work. I worked with a gentleman named Marvin Waldman, who's a creative copywriter for many, many years in the industry. So that was fun. And I was able to just churn out idea after idea for them.
Okay.
So that was, it was a great opportunity.
Are you a one-person shop?
I have people that I lean on when I have a much larger project, but I am the driver of the projects. So right now, I'm growing and I'm taking on employees as I need, but it's a different kind of marketplace. I think a lot of creatives want to be free and footloose. So I have a network of people that I lean on when I need stuff, but I can work very lean right now.
So what would you say to somebody that says that AI is taking away jobs? Like, would you be able to run this if you had to have full-time employees to do some of the initial things that you're using?
You still need fine refinement. You still need the graphic designer to do the layout and to do the technical stuff. You can't do it all with AI at this point.
Right.
I mean, if we get to the point where AI is doing everything, we're in a lot bigger trouble than, I mean, there are definitely going to be shifts and changes and people will have to update their skills or do things in a different way. You still need photographers. You still need graphic designers. I don't think it's as radical as people think. And it's a lot harder to use than people think.
It really is. It really is. It's funny. Well, it's interesting that people are feeling that this is taking away opportunity from people, but I feel that it's actually creating more opportunity because you're right. It's one thing to just concept out some general direction, but now you have the client bought into something. They know clearly where this is going, and then you can bring in the illustrators, the copyright. Like you can bring in the entire team and just say, "This is where we're going."
Yes.
And it's such a clearer path than we're gonna figure out where we're going. We're just gonna take 6 months,
And it's cost efficient because a lot of times you pay for ideas that go into the garbage. I mean, the first stage of my round with Isaac went in the garbage, but I didn't feel so bad because it was it took me like 3-4 days of work. But it wasn't, I didn't have to pay, a company didn't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for that artwork. Yes.
And this is the opportunity I think people don't see is that, as an independent, you can actually deploy this to begin making money. So what would be the simplest way for somebody to start using this and start charging? I've
created a package where I do rapid prototyping ideation. I have to qualify it a little bit.
Sure.
If it's in the hands of a skilled and experienced designer, they will know how to leverage it. Younger designers might have a problem because the prompt engineering really does require a lot of work. I mean, it is a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
If you've ever tried it, I see people like all worried, it's so easy and you didn't do anything. But it does take a lot of direction. I mean, one idea, I can spend an entire day on an idea to get intentional results.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I'll research a topic for a few hours before I just get that right word.
Mm-hmm.
And then the prompt is so clean and simple because I've leveraged this massive data set. So I just did an interview with Benjamin DeHant. It's published on his website. I think it's called Made by AI. I did an example there where I showed a picture that I created using, and I studied the differences between the word feast, banquet, dinner, meal. And I just went deep into different parts of history and I just blended. And it's like this really neat little prompt, but it leverages all these massive data sets that are implied. I see a lot of people doing, we could just go off I'll just go off on a tangent.
100%.
That I see people doing these really heavy, complicated prompts, which, yes, in the spirit of play can lead to some really cool results. But the more you put in there, the harder time you're going to have controlling the intention if you need to repeat it. And you have a less of an ability to figure out which word is causing you to go off in a different direction. In other words, there's a lot of tweaking and adjustments right now in the AI. Perhaps it'll change in the future and it's advancing to such a degree. But right now, it does require a lot of time and tweaking and finding just the right data set to get the intention that you're looking for. I don't know where I ended up, because when I talk, I sometimes go off. So you can always bring me back.
No.
My writing is way more focused.
No, I think it's great because, like, so for example, this morning, my daughter's like, oh, she's starting softball this season, and she's like, I want, they picked the name of the team at the beginning, right? And she's like, I want to be the Phantoms, and she's like, can I create a logo for the Phantoms with Midjourney? And I'm like, yeah, let's jump on here. Let's try a few things. Like, first off, let's figure out if it even knows what a phantom is. Right. So we just put in phantom, and it comes back with all these skeletons and skulls and zombies. She's like, yeah, that's not really what I'm talking about. She's like, I'm more thinking of like a ghost. I'm like, all right, well, let's go. Let's throw this into thesaurus.com and see what other words come up. Right. And then you start digging and you start, peeling things back. It's like, okay, well, if I use this word, it's going in this direction. If I use this term, it changes. We ended up with like these really cute things that had like a softball hat on and a softball. And it was like a little ghost guy. And she was like super stoked. And we also went into chat GPT and threw in, write me a prompt for Midjourney to come up with a sports team logo for Phantoms for young girls softball team. And it's all bam, 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 bam. It just lists it out.
Yes.
And it uses a bunch of, and it makes it more like a conversation.
Yes. And unnecessarily so. Yes. But
it's not the way that it's not the way that I'd write, but I copy and I paste it in there and it's like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yes.
Now let's start picking apart the words that used and craft our own. And, an hour later, it's like, yeah, she ended up with something that she was stoked, but it's like, that was just for, that was just for, a 12-year-old softball team logo that, she's not going to nitpick, right? Like a client would. Right. That was like 1 hour to generate one image. And she's like, oh, I'm going to go back and I'll print it and I'll redraw it myself and change a few things. I'm like, oh, perfect. Have a great time. But it's like, you don't realize that it takes seconds to get results, but they're not the results that you're after. That's just a step one. Right. Yeah. You can always get lucky.
Right. Step one. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in this really cool group through LinkedIn where there are some guys who've developed this really cool style of play. You kind of see people's personalities sometimes after a while, which is really interesting from the way we interact with the AI. But that's just like a little side observation. You see people's personalities come out. Actually, it's so sophisticated. The nuances that it picks up on.
It's insane. Like that's all I can.
My posts all start AI madness, and then a headline, and it's just like AI madness.
It's really, it's like I don't know. It's just like a fire hose. It's just so many things are coming at you, and like you can take this in a million different directions, like fashion, packaging, branding.
Oh yes,
it's endless. I mean, we still haven't figured out like where else this can go.
I have ideas for fashion design that I started playing around with and exploring. I have ideas for shoe design, and I have ideas for interior design and housewares and packaging. And I can really make them come alive. Okay.
So like, this is one thing I like to talk about as well as like, all right, so if you've got an idea for shoe or housewares, right, you can develop a product with Midjourney, right? You can do product shots essentially of this product that you're launching that you'd like to see if out in the market. You can use, like a Sidekick, .com or one of these other AI driven web development services. It takes you 15 minutes to build out an entire website. It's all coded, ready to go. All you gotta do is just answer all the AI questions that you're prompted with, put your image in there and open up a shop like in 30 minutes or however long it takes you to generate the image and build this thing out and see if you even get customers, right? It's like a proof of concept.
Yes.
If nobody wants it, perfect. Move on to the next thing, build it out, put it out, it's made things move so much faster, and like just the availability of the technology is insane. You know, I don't know.
It does speak to this kind of abundant mindset that everybody, talks about. I mean, I don't know if they talk about it, but people in AI always, Mr. Altman, Sam Altman from OpenAI,
Mm-hmm.
he gave a talk about that this year. Yes, it will change things, and some jobs may go away, and hopefully new ones will appear. But he was talking about this idea of abundance. What you're talking about is that we can be more efficient. That's what I see AI is able to do, because proof of concept for startups is very difficult. So I actually did this job for another company, but it didn't use AI, but I could use AI because this was before the AI came out, where I was doing a pitch deck for them, and I created an entire brand for them in their pitch deck so that they can go to investors and get money with something that looked like it was alive already. But yes, AI could definitely help with that.
Yeah, I think of like Mike Cesare over at Liquid Death. He launched Liquid Death with a photoshopped can. Didn't have any can in the water, didn't know how to build a business. He just had a can with graphics on it and built a website and did some Facebook ads to see if he would even get any traction. Once it took off, then it's like, okay, now I got to figure out how to get water in there. I got to figure out how to do the canning process. But had he not done that first proof of concept, he may never have done it. Right? It's too expensive to fill cans and get them in the market and see if it even works. So it's like you can circumvent all those processes and just get to market today with whatever random idea you've got. So it does make things, it does streamline it. It is more efficient that way. It is more sustainable as well. You're not having to look at all the waste, and then end up moving your products over to like the dollar store because it didn't work. Right. It's like there's a lot of a benefit to this thing at the moment. So you start everything with Midjourney madness or AI madness. What's your favorite prompt at the moment? Is there like a go-to?
I'll tell you what Midjourney is doing really well for me right now. It's doing insane textures and intricate detail. One of the projects that I'm able to do faster now is write a book. I am writing a book about AI and design. I mean, it may evolve, but right now it's about commercial applications for AI and how to prompt for those applications. And mindset and process. But the reason why I bring it up is right now it's just doing insane detail. Insane. I could design fabrics with warps and wefts, embroidery, gauze, textures. I'm doing fine art portraits. One of the things I did for Grown Brilliance was I wanted to create, this was just one of these random ideas, but I ended up making pastry that was laced with diamond pave. But if I tell you the intricate amount of detail and the setting, it was just breathtaking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at your jewelry that you've created. And the lighting is coming in the same direction for all the jewels. Obviously, the jewels are going to refract in different ways, but
that took me a long time.
It's a photograph.
Actually. Yes, it's a photograph, but I could do a photo shoot now. Did you see the photo shoot of the women?
In the fashion?
They can't. No, not the fashion. No. I did photo shoots where I did reference certain celebrities. I got in trouble for that because obviously we can't use them. I just wanted it for the brand ideation process. Like you could hire this person if you want to. Midjourney doesn't allow you to copy things exactly. So they're always like a little changed. But some of them were too recognizable and he didn't want to show it to his client. And I respect that decision because, that they weren't at that stage and it wasn't the right moment, but it was incredible the kind of photo shoots that I could create. Like I felt like Annie Leibovitz. Like they're just amazing.
Yeah, no, the results are crazy.
But it did take a lot of time. It did take me. I mean, those photo shoots probably took me 8 hours or 6 hours of testing. I don't know. I lost track of time. I'm down the rabbit hole. I don't know. I'm just on it. hours and hours and hours. But the photo shoots, yes, the photo shoots did take a lot of time to figure out, but yes, they're doable.
Okay. So I can,
some, there's limitations, but
so I can hear, the designer listening to this, seething, thinking that you're not Annie Leibovitz, right?
I don't know. I went to art school.
Right? It's like
I'm a mom. Maybe I was Annie Leibovitz. Maybe now I will be.
Right? It's like I get both sides. Right? I definitely see it from the designer's perspective, where it's like, okay, well now you're able to execute something that before you weren't able to because you hadn't built that skill set to shoot a photo like an Annie Leibovitz.
It's true.
But it exists, right? So are you supposed to not use it?
No, it's a tool. I will say in defense of those artists out there who dedicated their lives to those skills, they're safe, I think, even in the long term. I really do believe it. There's a guy on LinkedIn named Chet Moss, great guy. He posts artist work all the time. I would highly suggest you check it out. You cannot do that kind of work in AI. You just cannot.
Yeah.
I've been playing around. You can do cool textures like pencil and paint. I see a lot of people using some Japanese artists to get some cool effects. I generally try not to use living artists' work. I don't think I've really used, maybe once or twice have I used a living artist's work, which I don't want to get into trouble for saying that because I don't know where this is going to go. But right now it's available and it's legal, so I'm using it. I totally respect whatever decision the courts decide. It is a fair disagreement, but and I understand both sides. But human-made things are still human-made. I can't see a computer really ever being able to do that, although it can do some new things.
Yeah, I was talking to John from Counsel for Creatives, which is a subscription-based legal firm for creatives. And he's pretty deep in on the AI stuff as well. And it's, we were talking about like how he's like, the reality is that you can't own a style, right? So if you're not, basically the letter of the law, according to him, and this was not legal advice, and this is not legal advice, was that, you're not able to create something like somebody else and then try to pass it off as if that person had done it. Right. Where if you create something in the style of somebody else, it looks like them, but they can't take ownership of a style, right? Because every style goes back historically. There's nothing brand new today. Banksy has a style, but it's graffiti and it's stencils. And how many other people have done graffiti and stencils before him, right? Yes. Where is he taking that inspiration from? How do you dissect a style to be able to say, no, I'm the only person that can do this? That's, and of course it's not, designers aren't happy to hear that because they've spent however long to build their style. But unfortunately, that's the way it stands today. But I don't really see anybody, I don't see anybody today creating something in the style of somebody else and saying, oh, this was that person doing this, or I'm selling this for, X amount because it was this person, right? That's then copyright, trademark infringement, all those other things. But if you can create something that has the same feel as somebody else, and then your client loves it, and then say, perfect, let's hire that person to come in and work on it. And if maybe it's a smaller client and they can't hire an Annie Leibovitz, then you can hire a photographer that is shooting in a similar style as her already and say, this is the direction that we want to go. This is what we're looking to do. And then they have a clear, picture of where you're going, and it makes it a lot easier, and you're still getting the work done. You're still hiring people. But it's, this isn't replacing anybody.
I don't think it's really replacing people. No, I think it's giving new opportunity.
Yeah. I did see somebody say that AI is not going to replace people, but that people that know how to use AI will replace people.
Yes, I would agree
Right.
with that. It's more of a conductor leadership role. And you do need to be deeply educated in many areas to use it efficiently, I think.
It's not something you pick up today and then are making amazing art tomorrow, right? It definitely takes time and it takes practice and repetition. And I mean, how long? You said you started this from day one. So when did you feel that you got good?
After this? I would say probably 2 months ago, after about 4 months.
Mm.
And you have to understand, it also advanced. I mean, it's learning from us all the time. I couldn't do the mock-ups in the beginning. Mm-hmm. They were horrible. I couldn't believe the results I got with the mock-ups that I've been doing. I don't know if you saw the newest one I did for a makeup line.
I'd have to take a look. I've seen all your stuff. Yeah.
Caviar. I created a makeup line that I had an idea for, called Caviar and Moss.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are beautiful. And I did the same, right? At the very beginning, the results were terrible. They were so terrible that I just gave up. I'm like, this is a toy. Like I can't spend time on this right now. This is just a toy. And then I started seeing all this amazing stuff showing up. I'm like, well, wait a minute. This thing grew up. Like, now I got to figure out how to do it. And then you dive in and then you never come up for air.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, it's fine. My daughter loves it. She sits and watches me. She does stuff. But, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. So I like hacking ideas.
So all right, so you like hacking ideas. What? Give me an example.
I think of so many things. Well, like when something doesn't work. When something doesn't work, I just love thinking about a way to get it to work. So I have to think like out of the box, like how would a machine understand this? And it goes between, like I could tell you like process wise, it's like maybe there was a time in history where, well, I'll give you an example. I did a post on the cartoon. Did you see it? Justin Overman.
With the machines?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Justin Overman challenged me to a few really ridiculously hard, because cartoonists are impossible to imitate. And then he wanted me to put a machine in there, a Rube Goldberg machine. I don't know. He had me do, but so basically, I was like, it wasn't working. So I thought, how is the machine going to understand how this looks? So I just dove back in history. I said, I need a basic machine. So I was just researching rudimentary machines like the steam engine or water wheels with the Industrial Revolution. And I was able to layer that into the prompt to get a Rube Goldberg sort of looking machine in the style of a cartoonist like Al Hirschfeld. And it wasn't recognizing Al Hirschfeld. So I used Saul Steinberg and Hergé and the prompt Ligne Claire, which means in French, like line art. And it just like I had to research all these different things to hack to get a solution for it. And it didn't really work, except that AI is kind of dumb. It can't really create specs. It can't create specs for anything.
Yeah.
Not in visualization. I'm sure there's AI out there that will, but it's siloed. It's not. I mean, now imagine if we put those two together. Could you imagine if you have like AI for CAD drawings with Midjourney? OMG.
That's coming.
Wow.
That's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the crazy part is like, this isn't slowing down. Like this is just the door's barely open. I'm seeing 3D development in AI. I'm seeing, the one thing I'm excited about is this company called Pacdora.com. They're doing versioning for packaging. So if you design a small box and all the art's ready, you can lay it out on a die line and then tell it, I need 5 more sizes. These are the sizes. And it'll take those sizes and just lay it all out for you.
What is this called?
It's called packdora.com. That's supposed to be coming out, I think, end of February or early March. But it's like crazy,
Crazy.
You still have to look at it, and you still have to check it and make sure that everything's correct. But the idea of being able to lay out all these images and text and everything in the right panels at a larger size, it's time saving.
So time saving.
Yeah. And it's like the menial stuff that nobody wants to do. Right?
Yes.
It's just it's the one that you're like, oh my God, I don't, just don't make more than one size.
You change everything now.
Exactly.
It's like 5 hours later just to change one size of something else.
Yeah, it's crazy. But that's cool. And then you're using, so I like the fact that you researched and you pulled up a French term to incorporate into here. One thing I'm seeing is a lot of people are using just English, but you can really use any language.
Yes.
It just it self-translates and moves forward.
And when you use a different language or you use a word that was more popular in a certain period of time, it will bring in things from that era, which is really cool. I mean, it's amazing for creativity.
Yeah.
Amazing for creativity. Because the randomness of it also takes you kind of out of your head. And you got to think out of the box because it doesn't always work, or it works a little and it just generates these cool directions. I'm a little obsessed with it, I have to say.
It's hard not to be. It's hard. It's impossible not to be. I know I was talking to Kevin Russell of Dark Forces. He's like an amazing illustrator, and he's doing amazing things with Midjourney. He's creating game concepts, like the game box, all the game pieces, like everything is happening like immediately. It does the whole thing. And it's kind of the same thing, right? So you can build a site, you can sell it, see if anybody wants it, and then develop it or not develop it, reach out to a game developer to do that. But one of the things we were talking about was just language. Like now I'm going back and looking at different terms. All of a sudden my creative vocabulary has gotten larger because I've gotten so used to just not using those terms, right? You're talking to another person, you're like, oh, just like Apple, or just like, it's like you have all these shortcuts. But now you actually have to be specific with what you're saying.
So while I was a stay-at-home mom for a few years, I needed to do something creative, but I couldn't have paints out with little kids around. Yeah. Because I did start out in fine art. And then I moved to digital design when Adobe was, taking over. But I had to put away my paints because you can't have with little toddlers. It's like not happening. And I didn't have a big enough home where I could leave my paints out. So I ended up, whatever, it's a little bit of another story, but I ended up with a master's in poetry. Well, my kids were home and I was freelancing as a great graphic designer. But everyone was like, what are you going to do with that? Now,
yeah, you showed them.
I know how to distill language really well. So yeah, yay for poetry.
That's the AI is like the superpower on top of being able to be a copywriter, being able to manage language. Right? It's crazy. I think I think design, like visual designers are having a harder time than writers are.
Yeah, I think actually writers have superpowers now.
They do. They didn't know before. Yeah.
Yeah, or some of them are actually visually oriented too. So if there's a copywriter who has any sort of visual proclivities, he should run with it.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Jonah Rotting who I'm LinkedIn friends with. He's doing incredible work now.
Wow.
And I think he was in actual physical design too, but he's also a copywriter, and he's doing gorgeous work in Midjourney.
Yeah. This is the opportunity for you if you're a copywriter and you're managing creative teams, or you're, being part of the upfront strategy. You can prompt out some general concepts to then add visuals to that communication, right? Where you're talking to a client, you're talking to an internal team or a client, and you're throwing out a list of text. They can put an image with it just to make sure that they're understanding it and seeing it the way that you're trying to communicate it.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, that's like another bonus to AI. It's like, it's not just creating fun images. It's not just fun.
You know what I see? I think we're going from texting to pixel. I've seen people now just shoot pictures out. I like the GIFs, except on speed.
Custom.
Yeah. For the conversation. I've done it.
You know what? That's funny.
That's what I meant.
That's, I never even thought about that, but that's 100% during the World Cup. I think, Denmark lost and within seconds I sent off these images of babies in the Denmark uniform crying to all my Danish friends.
And they're really funny pictures.
Yeah, they're hilarious. And you're just like, really yeah, I didn't even think about it, but you're right. Like, you can just have a conversation with images and customize them,
Yeah, really fast. If you're, even if you're bad at it, you can get something good. Midjourney.
100%.
Yeah, Midjourney has done something amazing with codifying the aesthetics of visuals. Like, I can't get over how sophisticated and advanced it knows. I mean, I can recognize when the prompt is poor, because there's like default composition that it does when it doesn't know what to do, but it's always pretty. I actually did a post about that called Beautiful Nonsense. It'll make it look nice. But it's amazing how it knows, like, even colors. It just knows. I don't have to give it so much color direction.
No.
And when I do, it knows exactly like the best way to do contrast or tone, or even throw in that other little color that you didn't want to throw in because you knew it'll confuse it. But it did give you that dash of blue or that little, little foil of yellow. And you're like, oh, yes.
So how would you, so if somebody wants to get started in AI,
okay,
how would you tell them to get started? Like, what's the best way? Step one.
Okay. Well, let's just tell you how I did it. So I would say join Discord groups. There's this really cool group on LinkedIn run by Seth Perzinski and Stefano Baldessari. It's called AICC.
Okay.
You can find it, or AICC creators, something like that. You can find it on LinkedIn, and Seth publishes like every day, and he has links to his Discord. The Discord group is amazing. And then once you get in the community and you follow all these people on LinkedIn, there's this top 100 group of AI artists on LinkedIn, very tight-knit, really kind-hearted creators, so talented, so imaginative, so inventive, and they really share. In the beginning, they were sharing more. Now people are kind of tired of the sharing the prompts, but if you look back, I'm sure you can find in the top producers lots of prompts. And then I haven't really dove into it. There's a lot of coders like on GitHub and in these Discord groups, if you find them, where they share these massive sets. Oh, there's a really great guy named Shane McGeehan on LinkedIn as well. He has a whole software where he just shares ideas. Like, really, it's overwhelming. I find it sometimes too much. I like to figure it out myself. But, you just need to know and so that's like sources. And then basically you just need to, if you've gone to art school, or if you haven't, I really suggest you think about basic design principles, composition principles, layout principles, color principles. And, I guess it's always, we're talking to designers now, right?
Yeah, we're talking to everybody.
Is that right?
Yes, designers.
Right. So I'm saying if you want to get into it, I'm trying to give like advice that makes sense for people.
Yeah.
There is an intention to doing work that means something. I mean, you can go into Midjourney and just get amazing visuals by typing in sentences, like for gamer ideas or goddesses. Like my daughter's always putting together these goddesses with fire and, dragons and those data sets are so rich.
Your daughter would be like my daughter's best friend. She's doing the same stuff.
I mean, she's like, I'm also making like these really cute pictures of teens, and like wearing different stuff. It comes out gorgeous. But if you want to do more intentional commercial applications, you just need to understand what the community is doing. You do need to learn a lot from the prompting. There's a process of tweaking, and I hope I'm being helpful here. I'm trying to think. It's a little bit the Wild West. It's a lot the Wild West right now. I've been very much grateful to be in these LinkedIn communities and these Discord communities. And I learned a ton from the people there. I will say there's a guy named Brian Sykes who wrote 2 books already. Should check him out on LinkedIn. Brian, Sykes. He does really cool fundamental prompting ideas, and you can learn a lot from him. And it's a lot of trial and error. But you do need to just think about visual art direction, and then data sets. Like I don't know how much you want me to talk about this.
I think that's great, because I think Brian Sykes, he'll do like 1-word prompts, right? He really gets things like super simple. I pulled up on ChatGPT while you were talking. I just list out some basic design principles, right? So even if you're not a designer, if you haven't gone to school, you can just have Chat lay out some basic design principles for you, right? In terms of contrast, emphasis, movement, pattern, texture, like all these different things, and start incorporating stuff. Or even, if you want to create something, if you want to just jump in, you can go to Chat and say, I'd like to create whatever. Write me a prompt for Midjourney. Let it do it for you. Post it in there. You'll get some fabulous results. At least it gets you going. The other thing I tell people to do is go to the Midjourney community page online.
Oh, yes.
Look through what everybody's creating. If you see something interesting, copy their prompt, throw it in there, and then tweak it, change it. It might say, a dragon doing XYZ. Maybe you don't want a dragon. Maybe you want a Volkswagen Bug. Replace that word with whatever you were trying to do. See the results. I think once you put a prompt in and you get results, and you make an adjustment and you see those results in real time, there's no stopping. Right? Like, oh my God, I just, I got these results. Like little old me sitting in wherever I'm sitting, got these amazing results, and I made one adjustment and I got even better results. There's no stopping after that.
No. Yeah. And it is open. So you can even go, there are some people who keep their accounts private on Midjourney, but most don't. And you can follow people. The community page is open. You can copy prompts. You can test them out. There's so much available information. You can go on to Lexica, and I think that belongs to OpenAI. And they have prompts galore. You can search categories, styles. There's so much information available. You just start digging in, and you'll find your way if you want to do it. It is a 100%. Full-time job, though. I really do. It's taken over most of how I design things now. Yeah. And now I have a graphic designer working for me to finish up certain things, because I don't have time anymore to do the graphic design. Right. I'm very, very much involved in using it to drive all my ideas. I did a post actually about process and mindset. If anybody wants to look through my posts, that was also helpful. I don't remember exactly, but I did a study on little cute characters and how you start simply and then you build, and take out. And so that might be helpful to people too.
That's excellent. I appreciate it. And then if you're, as we're wrapping up here, if somebody's interested in reaching out to you and learning more about your work, seeing what you're creating, or reaching out to you for developing their next project, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Well, you can always find me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of information, and I have links to my website there. You can DM me on there. And I also have a blog on Medium, Sherry Horowitz. I think there's a link on my LinkedIn site as well. And then I have an email, which is sherryhorowitzdesign sherryhorowitz@gmail.com. So
Perfect.
it's sherryhorowitz@gmail.com. Design, Sherry Horowitz Design.
Excellent.
And, I'm looking to work with customers that are sophisticated thinkers with an eye to the future, and want to create meaningful, sustainable things that matter.